Hello, everyone. I'm Bo from Brutal Commentary, and today I'm going to be talking about our featured prelim for UFC 323. In this matchup, we have Grant Dawson taking on Manuel Torres. On paper, this is grappler, wrestler slash grappling mastery, meaning raw finishing power and aggressive fight ending instincts. You got Grant Dawson, who is going to be the wrestler of the two, and has a proven submission arsenal and a reputation for control and pressure. Meanwhile, you got Manuel Torres, who comes in as the rising threat, explosive, dangerous, and basically and just violence, pure violence. This can go a few different ways depending on which man gets the shape. Sorry, who gets to shape the terms. But either way, I am very much looking forward to this fight. You look at their last five. Both of them are 1-4, 4-1 in their last five. With Manuel Torres, he was on a good win streak. All finishes. Frank Camacho, Nicholas Mota, and then most recently submitted Chris Duncan, which has aged very well. Now, he lost to Ignacio Bahamondes last September in a fight where he kind of got caught coming in too aggressively. But since then, this March, he rebounded very well by ending Drew Dober. That's the best way I can put it. I know Drew Dober just recently won, but man, Manuel Torres fucked him up. Meanwhile, Grant Dawson, similar kind of momentum. He was on a really long win streak, which included names like, Jared Gordon. Something caught in my throat. Anyway, as I was saying, Grant Dawson, like I said, was on a pretty long win streak in the UFC. Not the most entertaining. He did have some submission wins to his name, but most of it was, heavy control wrestling style, but beating names like Derek Minor, Julian Rosa, Leonard Santos, Jared Gordon. And I'm kind of shocked he fought Ricky Glenn to a draw, to be honest. Mark Madsen, most recently, Demir Ismagulov. Then he lost to Bobby Green in about 33 seconds, which definitely wasn't helpful because Dawson's, like I said, not the most exciting guy. So, the UFC is not going to really promotionally push him as much as some other fighters. But he's put in a nice 3-fight win streak, beat Joe Selecki last July, TKO Rafa Garcia last October, and then most recently in January, defeated Diego Ferreira. So Grant Dawson is on a nice win streak, and for Manuel Torres, he just got back his momentum, so it'll be interesting to see how this goes, especially since Grant Dawson is ranked 14th in the world. But with that being said, let's break down their styles. So Grant Dawson is a grinder, or a fighter built on good wrestling, good jiu-jitsu, and good control, as I said. Throughout his career, he has shown that if he can get you to the mat, he is going to control you, and you're going to basically be stuck there. He does have submissions on his record, like I said. He had submitted Jared Gordon, for example, via rear naked choke. And he does have, like I said, in one of his most recent fights, he did TKO Rafa Garcia. And he does have also another TKO win of Leonard Santos. So he does have finishes. Dawson excels at ground control, scrambling, and forcing his opponents into uncomfortable positions until they crack. But Dawson isn't just a mat rat. He's no stranger to mixing his grappling with solid striking when needed. And he's shown powerful hands at times. And most of his KO wins are ground and pound. And he fights with patience and composure. He's very good at waiting for his openings to use his wrestling to neutralize danger, and often chokes out or outlasts opponents rather than going wild. His style is slow, methodical, and built around control, like I said, rather than fireworks. When he's on top of his game, Dawson is the kind of fighter who grinds, punishes mistakes, and win fights by attrition. He doesn't need to land flashy. He needs to outwork and out-wrestle you. That style has earned him a long run and, like I said, multiple fight win streak. The biggest problem with Dawson is, besides, like I said, Bobby Green caught him in 33 seconds. I'm not going to say it's I'm not going to call it a fluke. It was, the perfect punch, but Bobby Green is really good striking. The problem I'd say with Dawson is that sometimes he looks lost on the feet, and you can see sometimes he tries to rush his takedowns. Not all the time, and he certainly has shown a maturity to his game since that loss. But that was probably the biggest thing that plagued his career, or I think one of his biggest weaknesses was that his striking felt so unrefined and felt kind of rushed just to get that takedown. But now, as of recent, he's kind of shored that up, at least against Rafa Garcia, against Diego Ferreira. He definitely showed that he is willing to brawl and he is willing to use his striking when needed. So It's definitely improved. Now against a fighter against Manuel Torres, that might be a recipe for disaster. As El Local, he lives up to his nickname. He is the kind of fighter who wants to end the fight before that second bell even rings. I mean, his record speaks for itself. Many of his wins come via quick knockout and or submission. He's built a reputation as a finisher who strikes fast and hits hard. Torres fights with aggression and unpredictability. He can mix his striking with submission threat. As I said, he did submit Chris Duggan, and that has aged beautifully. And he can be very sudden too, like that elbow on Nicholas Mota. I remember watching it live. It was like, did he punch him? Like, how did he knock him out so fast? You see that when he timed the elbow like that, was perfect. What defines Torres is his willingness to push the pace early, look for finishes, and not give opponents time to settle. The moment he smells an opening, he commits. And his style isn't about slow grinding or positional awareness or chess, you could call it. It's chaos, aggression, and forcing decisions. That level of intensity can end fights quick, and that is where Manuel Torres is at his best. So this fight really just becomes a battle of slow and structured grappling versus explosive finishing aggression. I mean, quite simply, it's control versus chaos. Control and grappling oriented versus finishing oriented. I'm not saying striking either because, like I said, Manuel Torres can grapple too. If Grant Dawson gets this fight to the mat early, controls the position, and imposes his wrestling, he could stifle Torres's offense, wear him down, and fight a slow, grinding fight where Dawson's strengths dominate. In that world, Dawson's jiu-jitsu and calm under pressure give him a clear path to victory. But Torres is going to be the exact, and now what Torres wants is the exact opposite. His best path is to strike early, keep things messy, and force exchanges before Dawson can secure a takedown or set up his grappling. And if Torres brings intensity from round one, lands clean strikes, or catches Dawson mid-level change or scrambling, the fight could explode fast. And in those chaotic moments, his finishing abilities become a major problem. The key question is, will Torres be able to avoid Dawson's grappling pressure long enough to land the big shots or force the scrambles? If yes, Torres thrives. If no, Dawson's grind, control, and could submit Manuel Torres. I don't think that's likely, but you never want to rule out that possibility. So the outcome hinges on whether Torres can either A, defend the takedowns of Dawson, or two, if he's able to get up more times than Dawson can hold him down. Now, honestly, this is a bit of a tricky matchup because, easily Grant Dawson is the best opponent Manuel Torres has faced. And I would argue Manuel Torres is the most dangerous opponent Grant Dawson has faced. Now, I know, Dawson got finished by Bobby Green, but Green isn't historically a knockout threat like that, in at least comparison to Torres. And, you look at some of the other people Grant Dawson has faced, right? Like Rafa Garcia, not a well-known finisher. Joe Selecki, submission artist. There we go. Damir Ismagulov, not the most dangerous finisher. Manuel Torres, in my opinion, is the most dangerous opponent of Grant Dawson's career. Like I said, conversely, Grant Dawson is the best opponent Manuel Torres has faced. But for my official prediction, I'm going to go with Manuel Torres in this one. He's actually a pretty good underdog. He's plus 170 to the minus 210 Grant. I understand why Grant is like the 2-1 favorite. He's got really good grappling. He's very good with his wrestling. He's pretty dogged with it. And, many fighters like Torres probably have the same game plan, defend the takedowns or scramble out of position and stay up on the feet and knock Dawson out. But most have failed in that endeavor. One has succeeded, but not many. I mean, Grant Dawson is not like, 21-2 without a reason, for a reason. And most people, same game plan, and have not to succeed. But I do believe Manuel Torres could succeed in this endeavor. One of my biggest reasons is the size of Manuel Torres. He's pretty big for the weight class, I would say. You saw him against Ignacio Bahamondes. He did not look small against Bahamondes in the slightest, at least not in my eyes. And while Tapology says, Dawson and Dawson and Torres are 5'10". I don't believe that for a second. And I mean, you look at Dawson and Bobby Green; they're roughly the same size. And I can tell you, Manuel Torres is bigger than Bobby Green. And I'm not saying he's Bahamondes size, but he looked almost as tall as Bahamondes. So I definitely don't think Manuel Torres is like 5'10". He's probably bigger than that. But what I also like is, Torres' explosiveness, his finishing instincts, and willingness to push pace against gives him the advantage over Dawson's grinding control for me. Because I think if Torres can avoid the immediate takedown traps and use his striking and submission threat early, I think he has the tools to break through his aggression and pretty dangerous striking, unpredictable striking as well. In a fight where action, speed, and like fight ending moments matter more than positional dominance, damage trumps all. I think Torres can find the opening, and I think he has a higher upside in terms of what he brings to the table, given the violence, power, and finishing potential he brings. I see him getting the win here. So my official prediction, I'm gonna go with excuse me. I'm gonna go with Manuel Torres. I'm gonna pick him via knockout in this one. I don't fully trust Grant Dawson's chin, and it's not so much Bobby Green knocked him out. It's much as like he has been hurt before, and while he did very well in the striking against Diego Ferreira, Manuel Torres hits much harder than that. So once again, my official prediction, I'm going with Manuel Torres, and I'm going to pick him via knockout. But with that being said, I've been Bo for Brutal Commentary. If you like the video, like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below on who you think's going to win. But until then, stay calm, stay respectful, and enjoy the violence. I'll see y'all next time.